So you have a YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me like when you started it and why you started it.
Yeah, for sure. So it was sometime last fall. It was actually my sister who started a YouTube channel first. And I've always been interested in starting YouTube. I think it sounds like, something that's super fun to do, but I've never really been passionate about anything enough that I felt like I had content to speak about. And then I got into plants last February, so it's a bit over a year since I've got into plants. And then by fall, I thought to myself, oh, you know what, I can probably talk about this. And she was here like, I have some experience with YouTube, I can help you get started. I started with basically unboxing videos, and then I did create a tutorial on how to build a greenhouse, an IKEA greenhouse, and then I just kind of stopped there. There was a combination of the pandemic and everything being too overwhelming, and I just kind of stopped for a while. And so it's been about maybe 6 months since I've last stopped, maybe longer than that actually.
And when you started, what did you imagine your content to be?
Yeah, so
Or did you? Maybe you didn't imagine.
I was thinking, because so I used to watch a lot of unboxing videos. I think that was my favorite thing to watch that's relating to plants. So I like watching some care tips, but most of all I like watching people unboxing plants. And so I was buying a lot of plants at that moment, and I was thinking, oh, this would make great footage. Maybe somebody else would like to watch it. So that was the content that I enjoy watching myself, and so that was what I wanted to put out.
What has been the hardest parts?
The hardest parts? I would say, honestly, I think the editing for me. So for me, it's quite, it's like a 5-minute video, probably take 2 hours to edit, and I try to aim for at least 10 minutes of footage. So then we're looking at, 4+ hours just for one film. And I generally am pretty busy in my day-to-day life, and back, in peak pandemic, there were a lot of downtime, and I was able to just kind of chill a bit and do some work. But as things start to open up, and work gets busier, it's hard to just sit down. You're spending 8 hours in front of a laptop, and then you're done with work, and then you continue to sit there for another 8 hours. It's just something that I kind of had, at least for me, that was the hardest part, because like I mentioned, I have so much footage of things that I want to do, but they just haven't been put together yet.
Yeah. What's the most, the best things that have come out of YouTube?
Yeah, I think that the best things have been the people, to be honest. And I think that I've just everyone but you, no. But no, it has been I think that I've just met so much people. Well, not really meet, but virtually got to know a lot of people through YouTube and through social media, and to connect with these people that you would otherwise would never cross paths with. I have a lot of friends who are not in California, they're all across the states, and we've made plans to after the pandemic, I'm going to fly over and I'm gonna visit you. In my immediate circle, no one else is really into plants.
Right.
And so the only way I meet all these people is through things like YouTube, where I can actually find oh, I like plants, you like plants, let's chat, let's get to know each other.
I think it's a good platform to open discussion, right?
Yes.
Whether you're wrong, open a discussion. Whether you're right, open a discussion. Whatever questions you've had, because I think overall, none of us, I would say it could be, I'm not original, right? All the thoughts that I've had, someone else out there has similar thoughts, hopefully, right? Right, and things I agree with, someone else will agree with me. There are definitely people who won't agree with me. But just putting yourself out there, saying this is what I think, and maybe I'm wrong, right? If you put yourself out there, it allows for these relationships to form, and it allows for a discussion to be had, whether that's for your stance or against your stance. I think that's been fun.
I think that when you put yourself out there and you talk about things like that, And sometimes you may be wrong about it, but you're getting more educated as you go through. And there's definitely someone out there that's like, oh, I have the same questions, but I feel dumb asking it, and I'm just here like, I'll be that dumb person. I'll ask it, and then we'll both know the answers to it.
Do you get mean comments? Do you get critical comments?
I would say I've been lucky, and maybe, I think once you start getting haters, that's how you're kind of famous. But at least for me, I haven't, had that many, mean comments. I think critical is probably the closest, where people would say things like, oh, that's not the right way to do it, or this is, and it might not be something that I agree with, or maybe it is, and I'm here like, oh, oops, yeah, you're right, totally right about that. But I've been really lucky to not really have that kind of comments. Part of the reason too is that I do shy away from very controversial topics.
Right.
Things that I do feel are important to talk about, but I don't think that I'm personally educated enough, or even like, I don't think that I feel comfortable to do so, and not get it just completely mistaken now. So that's something I think, so for me at least, I haven't gotten a lot of like mean comments, and I do think part of it is because I'm still pretty small, and another is that a lot of my content is pretty neutral. It's not something that's like easy for things to get derailed.
With lots of people getting into plants, there's been a ton more plant Instagrammers, and there's also been a ton more plant YouTubers. So like, do you have any advice or suggestions or anything for people who are just thinking about doing YouTube?
When I watch someone who is on YouTube, I can tell, and a lot of people can easily tell, how interested, how passionate you are at the contents that you make. So sometimes, we can follow some trends where we know, oh, this is like something's interesting and popping, but like, if you don't really care about it, it will show, and when you make that video, people can tell like, oh, she's just kind of like following a trend, she's not really as interested in the topic that she's talking about. The reason why I got into YouTube and why I have had some success with some of my videos is because I am enthusiastic and I am very passionate about it. So my advice honestly is to find something that you can just talk endlessly about. Just you're so excited and you want to talk about it. And I think that was one of the feedback that I get when people ask me, or when people talk about my video, they say, oh yeah, you're just so like excited and like very enthusiastic. I'm like, I am like that, just like naturally, because I'm talking about something I love. So I think, well, the first thing is to find something that you actually truly love to do. Otherwise, it's gonna show, and I think it'll just make things harder for you. And then secondly, be a part of the community first. So I love plants, and I joined the plant community before I started YouTube. And then once I did start YouTube, it was kind of easy because I know like, oh, I know a bunch of people who wants to see this. I'm just going to, show the video to them. And so you already have that, that base set where, I think a lot of reasons why a lot of channels do fail is that people make whatever they want, and that's amazing, do what makes you happy. But then they just kind of throw it out there and they hope that some random person would be like, oh, this is what I'm interested in, so the marketing is definitely huge. But I think first and foremost, your own interests and your own passion and the reason why you want to do this comes first.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the only thing I will add to that is that if you're thinking about, doing YouTube, just know that like one of the biggest challenges of YouTube is content creation and the constantness of it, right? Like YouTube,
Definitely.
You just constantly have to make content, right? It just doesn't stop. If it stops, then you stop. Like,
Yeah.
Your channel stops. So I think like if you're really thinking about it, I would recommend anyone write down like 20 topics, right? Think about like 20 things, 20 episodes of of whatever topic it is. Like if you can do 20, that's good, right? Like that's great. And if you can do more than that, that's great too. But there's going to be some things that you really enjoy that you can only think about like 5 things to talk about.
Right.
And that makes it very challenging. And it can be really anything. Like if you talk about like plants, for example, you know, it's like, you know, 10 leaves against the light. You know, like 10, my 10 favorite leaves in my room. You know, or something like that.
Like I tried fertilizing with carrot juice for 1 week, and this is what happened.
Right, like you know, like 5 aerial roots I don't like. Or, you know, like it can be anything. You know, the reasons why I can like think of like random stuff is that like I do really enjoy plants, right? And I do things like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what what your 5, you know, least favorite roots are.
Yeah.
For your plant, or, you know,
I'm pretty sure you have top 5 favorite leaves. Like I can just point them out right here in this room on where my top 5 is. So.
Yeah, I don't think I've looked at my plants enough to have 5 favorite
wow.
leaves. But again, also my leaves don't look as good as yours.
Oh no.
All right, I think that's gonna be it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Alright, awesome.